Hello, Warren here once again from the Peach State Prime Transformers channel, and I'm coming to you with another display update. I know I've been kind of breaking these up, and as I've been completing updates and changes to my room, my main Transformers room and my annex, as I called it, my last update, been kind of showing off what I've been doing, and I'm almost done. So I have an update that I'll do for the rest of the basement, probably in my next update video. But wanted to show off, kind of my last, big major renovation in my main Transformers room and office here. So, as far as, when I did my update to, the whole reason behind the update, as you can see, was to put my main studio series and generations out on display. What I like to call my definitive version, who's standing in for that character on my quote-unquote main shelf here. Not replacing the originals, but just who I think is the best version, best likeness of that character. So, with that in mind, there's a lot of characters who I've updated. I've got new versions of, I got what I thought was the definitive version, and then a new release came out, and it was a little bit better. So I replaced, point in case with Megatron behind me here, and even Soundwave. So, all those past generations and classics, not so much studio series, but just, all those other updates, where do I put those? So, originally I had them on the shelf here where my Decepticons now sit, kind of all just jumbled together, and they're still great toys in their own right. Nothing wrong with them. It's just for my, my purposes, what I wanted to accomplish. I just wanted one representative for each character. But I still want to display those other versions. Think of it as variants. Like if you watch the Marvel series Loki, there's all these variants out there of every character, every superhero, villain, whatever, and then really, the whole multiversal, sci-fi trope. So figured, that's kind of what I'll call my other versions of these characters that I'm about to show you. And then I also finally have a good place for my updated Beast Wars figures, as well as my, I've mentioned it in other videos, and I'm trying to collect all the studio series for Transformers 1. And I also have a place for that now, as well as the one classic, kind of early 2000s series that I can never display quite right. I think I finally got it figured out, and I'll save that as a mystery for the end. But hope you'll join me for the very next room update here and display update for my Transformers. Alright, everyone. So first I'm going to show you kind of my alternate, classics, generations, what have you. So I have, just like for my Diaclone inspired generations figures, which I showed previously, I have them on this, kind of this empty long shelf stretched between two of these bookcases. I have that very same thing over here, just not going across the room. And what I used to have up here were some of my statues. They extended up here, like the bus that I showed in my previous update video, all the way over to this bookcase, which you can now tell I have all these figures here. So, these are some of the previous releases. You got Titan's Return and Generations Galvatron or Universe Galvatron. There is that infamous Earthrise Megatron mold or Siege mold. Nexium is Classics, which the sun's not really coming in to where I'm worried about it fading these figures. But I do like how it's making this Classics Megatron glow. And that was the last big Megatron. I was a Voyager scale that would transform into a gun, albeit more Nerf-like. Then there's, I believe that's Titan's Return Megatron right there in tank mode, which I think looks great. There's that Legends class G2 Megatron, Power of the Prime Skylinks. Then you get into some of the Soundwaves, you know, from, again, Titan's Return and, I believe that was Kingdom. We got that core class one. Then you got over here on top of these shelves, you got Ultra Magnus. Having to squeeze by here. You got Classics, Optimus, and Hot Rod. Titan's Return, Hot Rod. Little Hot Rod, Legends Optimus. You got Earthrise Optimus. Then you got Classics Jetfire. And then back here, that's the Generations Jetfire, often called Thrilling 30. You got the Combiner Wars or Titan's Return, whichever one it was. The Power of the the Ultra Magnus, that was I'm just talking about all the Prime Wars trilogy here, but that's the Ultra Magnus that was more IDW inspired with Minimus Ambus in there. Then I have my Power of the Primes Dinobots combined into Volcanicus there. Right here I got that lousy Optimus Prime that came out around Classics. That was packaged with a different tank Megatron. I actually have his leg backwards. I'll have to fix that. So these are a little bit more squished together here, but you can still, it's a lot better than it was. I have my Jets here, or my Seekers, using that Classics mold, you know, which was everything everybody wanted up until Earthrise, and now the new Studio Series mold. Got, you know, older versions of Perceptor, Ironhide, Red Alert, Cup, Blue Streak, Octane, RC, and that's wild to me. We have older versions of RC now. I remember when we didn't have a G1 RC toy. You got Wreck-Gar, Mirage, Classics, Ultra Magnus back there, and Blur. So that's kind of all my, you know, what I'll call my Generations and Classics, you know, kind of, you know, original ones that were out there. Down below those, this is my Studio Series Transformers 1 collection. I still need to pick up Thundercracker and Alpha Trion that are currently out, but, you know, I got plenty of room to grow here. Same for, these are my Generations Maximals. Again, a lot of these came out during Kingdom, you know, the last trilogy we had. Got Tigerhawk back there, who, of course, I just did a review on not long ago. Lio Convoy, or Leo Prime, whatever you want to call him. Cheetor, got Optimus Primal, Dinobot, kind of back in the shadows, which I think looks pretty cool. That core class Rat Trap, which, I don't know, I kind of hope they don't make a bigger version. I like that. And then over here, these are the Fossilizers that came with some of the toys I got off Amazon that were exclusive pack-ins. I figured they're kind of Maximal-like, so I'll put them here because I didn't think they really fit in with my other, my G1 Classics and Studio Series. Then, of course, right below here, which I actually really like how this looks, even though it's a little jumbled, because we have so many big and imposing Predacon figures that have come out, including that Transmetal 2 Megatron, which I know some people weren't too big a fan of it. I think it looks really cool, especially in beast mode there, which is how I left it. And I guess as fires, he's going to barbecue Waspinator, which would be par for the course. Got Antagony and Inferno. Back there, I have that, I believe it was a PulseCon exclusive, the Ravage with G1 Ravage in the kind of the scene setter there from the Agenda, which was always, you know, his classic moment when he yells out Decepticons forever and transforms into a cassette, which, you know, could fit right in there just like that G1 Ravage can. Got Quick Strike up front, Pterosaur, got some golden discs there. So, very happy with how this display turned out. Another area that I had to update, and I didn't mention this earlier, was my all-time favorite G2 mold is Laser Prime, and I have the, I believe it was E-Hobby, did the Ultra Magnus, and of course Scourge from Robots in Disguise, or Car Robots, whatever you want to call it. So I have them on this shelf now, where again, I used to actually have my Beast Wars Generations figures. Now, the early 2000s series that I alluded to in the beginning of the video is none other than my Alternators collection. So, Alternators are a lot like Masterpiece figures. And if you don't recall what Alternators are, again, they're released in the early half of the 2000s, and they were a line of highly detailed Autobots and Decepticons that could transform into licensed vehicles, and they actually look like the licensed vehicles. There's a ton of them. There was Jeep, so I know there's a lot of Chrysler, Ford as well. I'm not sure if I know Scion, so I think that's what, Honda? I might be wrong there. I'm not a big car guy. I don't recall any GM vehicles, though I could be wrong. Of course, those were heavily featured in the live-action films. But, you know, it was always kind of a pain to display these guys because though they look good ultimately in both modes, bot and car, or vehicle rather, always had the problem with, if you look at them wrong, they'd fall over, panels would pop off, accessories would be dropped, potentially lost. And they're a pain in the butt to transform for the most part. Some of them easier than others. But, you know, so I collected most of the line when it first came out. And I'm going to be honest, I left them in robot mode. Because that's, you know, I like putting my Transformers in robot mode to display. Well, I decided I was actually going to display them in, the majority of them, all except for 3 of them, in vehicle mode. And to save some space in my room and to change things up. And boy, that was fun looking up archive instructions and trying to reverse engineer them. For those that don't know, Alternators came packaged in vehicle mode, so the instructions were written from vehicle to robot. And of course, even to this day, when you get a Transformer, it just gives you, from whether it's in vehicle or robot mode, the instructions. And then to get back where you were, it just says reverse instructions. That doesn't work as easily as Hasbro thinks it does. And it never has. You know, you do your best, use it as a guide, but ultimately you got to just feel it out yourself. And what I did is, because again, I wanted to save some space. So I actually 3D printed these little shelves. It's almost like a parking garage. And you'll see them here in just a minute. And I was able to assemble them with beams and platforms. They just slid together. And for the most part, it worked. We do have a little bit of leanage, but it's between shelves, so it works. And this was actually on Bamboo Lab. And it was up there for, what do you call them? Speed Champions, the Lego sets, and they're actually the same scale as those vehicles are. So it actually worked out very well for me. And gonna show you those, and I'm actually really happy with how it's turned out. It has some funky colors in places, but that just makes it more fun. All right, here they are, the infamous Alternators. So you kind of see, I had to do a mini shelf and one in the back. So one of the ones I left in bot mode, because I think it looks really good, is Optimus Prime. And then Mirage, who I extended this up so he could stand. And then below, I have all the cars parked. It's almost like one of those Carvana vending machine things you'll see sometimes on the side of the highway. And then in the back, this is where I got more, you know, a little bit of leanage, but it's stable. This is my favorite alternator in robot mode, and that is Trax, if you can't tell. I just think he looks beautiful like that. You got Hound below, and then all of the other ones. And yeah, it's behind this front one. You can see Prowl sticking out, So I'm happy how this turned out. I started with orange beams and black platforms, but had to switch to yellow because I ran out of orange filament. But again, just really happy with how this turned out. And one thing I did is I did put a screw in that shelf there to kind of hold this in place so it doesn't tip forward or get too top heavy with how I have Mirage and Optimus there. But, you know, this was a fun project to do, and took a few days to print out all the pieces, but it's well worth it and cheaper than buying another bookcase or finding space for another bookcase somewhere. And while I'm at it, I did have to relocate a few of my Generations toys that were inspired by the War for Cybertron video games. You know, originally I just had the large blaster and Soundwave over here. They're now joined by Optimus, Megatron, Bumblebee, and Little Soundwave or Deluxe Soundwave. That hotspot I've had there for a while. I like how it looks there. But moved those because, again, they were over here in the window with my larger statues, which, hey, glad I did this because I forgot to show these off. So in the window now, I also do have some of my larger classics figures that, you know, I found alternates for, including Onslaught here, which I still think looks cool as a standalone toy. Especially in that pose, and that was by accident. I like how he's standing there with his fist. I got Power Glide, this was like I think it was Ultra Class back in the day. It's huge, and painted to be more realistic. Takara did release this in red, and it was an exclusive in the US as well. You know, still a cool toy, but not quite Power Glide as we remember him. I got Classics Bumblebee, Little Bumblebee, and, you know, representation kind of a gold bug. More just Gold Bumblebee is what he went by. Previous attempts at Cosmos. And then I have Grapple from that hotspot mold I just showed. You got that combiner version of Alita 1. You have Grimlock, who was from also more inspired from one of the War Within video games, but, you know, semi-Cybertronian. This one actually came in a box set for Age of Extinction with a deluxe class Optimus Prime Movieverse toy. And then, of course, I got Classics Grimlock back there. And then I got Core Class, Trail Cutter / Trailbreaker, Beachcomber, Warpath, Wheelie, and Brawn. And my reissue of the Transformers Generation 2 handheld game. Alright, so that is going to do it for this update to my Transformers display. I think I probably have one more video in this series to do. And again, that's the rest of the stuff that's out in the basement. Got some stuff out there as other box or packaged figures, as well as some Transformers adjacent items and my crossovers collection. So, you know, we'll be taking a look at that the next and probably last display update video I make. But anyways, do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like here on YouTube. And, of course, you know, leave a comment. Anything catch your eye this time, or any figures that you have or ways that you choose to display them, especially the alternators. And, of course, subscribe to the Peach State Prime Transformers channel for more videos like this. Again, probably one more in this actual series, but I'm always going to be showing off my collection. That's one of the main parts of the channel, in addition to doing reviews of figures that come out, and of course discussing any news or reveals that you know, make its way onto the internet. Anyways, if you'd like to learn more about me, you can check out peachstateprime.com. You can also see my other YouTube channels there. Outside of that, again, I want to thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you have a great day, and God bless.